full lotus posture, that's great. Half lotus is also okay. But whatever is comfortable for you. And if you're wearing jeans, not much is going to be comfortable. So, yeah. That's why we wear these skirts. Okay? Now with hands, you'll often see like, this kind of mudra. Even on the hands is okay. But the other way to do, you can have your left hand down first, the right hand on top of it, and the thumbs just gently touching in the lap. See, left, right, thumbs making a little triangle like this. This is actually, it's maybe preferred. If you don't have a habit with another type of thing to do your hands with, then I would try this one, okay? Alright. So we continue to work up, and then make sure that your shoulders are also not hunched over like this. So you can roll your shoulders up and back, opening up the chest, allowing the lungs to expand fully, and then make sure that your shoulder blades, are in line with your back. Wangdu, it looks like you're a little bit like this. Are you okay? Okay, good, good. Okay. Then, we want to tuck our chin just gently into the neck like this. So you see? See that move? Can you do? Try it. Not down, but in. It's kind of like that move you see in Bollywood movies, like this. So you'll feel some elongation in the back of the neck when you do. Okay? So there is a relationship between the body and the mind. So when we have our mind, especially the spine straight, there are these energy channels that when they're straight, the energy flows nicely. Okay? Alright. So now moving on to the face. So in this meditation, we're going to have our mouth closed, but the teeth not clenched. Okay? So just keep your mouth closed, but the teeth in a natural position. And then you can put the tongue on the roof of the mouth, okay? And then create a small suction that will then take out the air, so there's no space, open space in the mouth. You understand? Okay. And then keep your eyes open. If you don't really wear specs, you can take them off. I'm keeping mine on so I can see if your posture is good, but you can take yours off, okay? And then, make sure that none of the muscles are flexed, okay? Understand? So now take a moment to look, kind of scan your facial muscles, and if you see any areas of tension, then let it go. Okay, so we're going to scan the body now from head to toe, through the face, then the back of the neck, the shoulders. So especially some of us, we might hold some tension in the shoulders, so if there's a particular problem area where there's a lot of tension, and it doesn't go away just by bringing your mind's focus there, you can imagine that you breathe into that area, and then as you exhale, that tension is also released with exhalation. Okay, now so continue down through the back, through the chest, through the arms. Then down through the seat, through each leg, down all the way to the feet. Okay. So now after having scanned for and released any tension that we're holding in the body, we'll now turn our mind's attention to the breath. So in particular, as we inhale and exhale, there will be sensations in the body. So first we will watch from the vantage point of the rising and falling of the abdomen. So notice as we inhale, the abdomen expands. As we exhale, it contracts. So like this. Here we're working with the natural breath as it is. So not having any preference for a long breath or a short breath, but rather just trying to become aware of the natural breath. First beginners, it's also sometimes helpful to count the breaths. So you can inhale and exhale, and at the end of the exhalation count 1. Inhale, exhale, and count 2, and so forth. Then when you reach 10, start over again at 1. If before the time you reach 10, your mind has gotten so distracted that you've lost count of the breath, then gently start over again at 1. If there is some other distraction, either external, like sounds, or internal, like other thoughts appearing to the mind, then don't pay attention to them. Rather, you can be aware, but not engage. Okay, so we'll try this for another 5 minutes. So now, gently come out of the meditation. Bring your awareness back to the room. So what happened? Your legs are sore? You're not used to sitting on the floor like this. Okay. So if sitting on the floor is not comfortable, first thing is you look rather young. So you can build up. For other of us, it might be, we can sit on the floor, but we can't sit in lotus posture. Okay? So if you just train yourself daily to do it, gradually you can do it for longer periods of time. But let's say if you've had, knee surgery or something, you can sit and look behind you. There's three people sitting on a chair. But just one thing, if you do sit on a chair like this, most of the important parts of the posture still remain. You want to have a straight back. So you shouldn't sit on the back of the chair, with the backrest, but come up a little bit forward on the chair. Then also it's best not to have armrests, because if you're, depending on your body, the armrests my elbows rest on. So if you have like a stool or something, where you could have, not the armrest pressing, that's good. But then you can have even the hands in the lap like this, no problem. And have both your feet flat on the ground. Don't cross your legs if you're sitting on a chair. Okay? Alright. Any other questions about that type of meditation we just did? Huh? Did you do that on your app?
You need to scan.
Scanning.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, some came in when I had already started. So, but all the experienced students come late. Okay. So anyway, my experienced students, I had apologized in the beginning because again, Aban, hi. I have another allergy problem this week. It's not nice. Some karma, likely. But in any case, as they say, the show must go on. So I'll try my best, okay? But just have patience. I'll see if I can finish this Kleenex box. I'm already a bit through with it, okay? Alright, so, why did we come here? We have been doing, over a number of months, we've been going through this very precious text, the Bodhisattvacharyāvatāra, and one of the very amazing contributions to the world made by the great Indian Master Shantideva, who lived in the 8th century. And usually what we've been doing, we go through in these classes, we go through kind of stanza by stanza, and the teacher will explain the stanza, the words. Okay? Alright. But what I like to do, usually we have a couple sessions over a weekend, and since some new people are always coming in, I try to set the context and talk about, you know, the big picture. And then we progress further into the text. Okay? So, yeah. Since I have been doing this for some months, I try to, for the benefit of people who are coming to all the sessions, I try to mix things up a little bit, so as not to be boring. Okay? So I'm going to try something some new flourishes. Okay? Yeah. So this text, Guide to a Bodhisattva's Way of Life. Okay? Guide to a Bodhisattva's Way of Life. Usually I talk about, you know, the words of the treatise first, because in the kind of Indo-Tibetan tradition, you'll look in the commentaries and it often gives a few pages explaining what the meaning of the title is. So the meaning, the original Sanskrit title, Bodhisattvacharyāvatāra, in Tibetan, Janchi Senpe Chupala Chukpa. Okay? So in the Tibetan, Jangchu Sempa is Bodhisattva, Chukpa is conduct, Jukpa is engaging, and La is like in, right? So a better or a more precise translation is like engaging in the Bodhisattva's conduct, or engaging in the Bodhisattva's deeds. Okay? But here, this translator took a little bit creative license and translated it as way of life. Okay? So I'm going to talk about life a little bit. Yeah. And this is the normal starting point that now His Holiness the Dalai Lama originates his talks. You know, talking about just life. Forget about Buddhism for a second. But let's just talk about life. And the nature of all of our lives you know, starts with this recognition that we all want happiness, well-being, peace, and we don't want to suffer. Right? So, of course, it's one of the key concepts of Buddhism, but also in the world, right? This concept of cause and effect, right? So if you want to have some kind of effect or some kind of result in your life, you need to accumulate the causes for it, right? And if you don't want other kinds of results, you have to not have the causes that lead to those results. You know what I mean? So, perhaps the most famous utterance of the Buddha was one I quote most weekends I come here, where the Buddha said, you know, Dipachiyang michashins, gawa punsu sopache, rangi semi yonsu duru, dini sangi tempahi. Wangdu. Is your name Wangdu? Wangdu. Wangdu. How's my pronunciation? To be honest, do I sound like an American? Yeah, yo. It's okay. I am an American, so you know. Okay. Anyway, so Dikpa Micha Chings, right? So Dikpa is like a negative action, yeah? You know, Chiang, not even one, yeah? Micha, like, so do not perform any negative action, Gyawa Punsu Sopa Che. Gyawa is virtue. Punsu Sopa, how would you translate that? Usually we say like a, like an excellent collection, right? So like a, like collect, but then we have like collect a collection. Accumulate a vast collection of virtue. Okay? Rangi senni yonsudu. Okay? So Ram is, your own. Sen, mind. Du is subdue. And yonsu is to thoroughly or completely. So to thoroughly subdue one's own mind. Dini, like this. Dini, Sangye. Sangye is Buddha. Tempa, teaching. Yin is. So this is the teaching of Buddha. You understand? So, if you had to encapsulate the whole, all of the Buddha's teachings, 4 lines, that would be it. And why? Because of this very, understanding, this realization between causes and effect, 1, but then understanding what causes. Okay, given the fact we all want happiness, we don't want to suffer, the next question is, okay, why do we suffer? And how do we become happy? Right? And so the Buddha's answer is to link, and not only the Buddha, but many traditions hold that it's due to our, virtuous actions lead to good effects, and our negative actions lead to suffering results. Okay? So because we don't want to have suffering, we need to abandon the cause of suffering, non-virtue. Because we want the result of happiness, we have to accumulate the causes, virtue. And because we're never satisfied with however much happiness that we do experience, we have to, accumulate the excellent collection means, so much, And because we don't want to experience even the slight suffering of a runny nose, then we shouldn't come to Bangalore anymore. No, I'm joking. Thank you, Sir. Then we shouldn't, perform even a slight negative action. Okay? Because, really at the end of the day, this is the teaching on karma, by the way. Why am I experiencing this suffering? Not because pollen or pollution or this, right? But in the past, I harmed someone else. If that wasn't the case, there's no way for suffering to happen. You understand? I'm not seeing heads going like, yes, I understand. Okay? Okay. So then, the 3rd line, to thoroughly subdue one's own mind, right? So in the first, the Buddha is just saying, okay, don't do negative actions and do a lot of virtuous actions. Okay, that's fine and good. But you see, what makes an action virtuous or non-virtuous is the mind. So the actions that are motivated by virtuous thoughts, we have compassion. What do we do when we're compassionate? We want to alleviate someone's suffering. So we see someone suffering, we see someone poor, we then perform acts of generosity. Right? Then the flip side, right? What do we do when we get angry? We harm others. What do we do when we have greed? We steal, we cheat. Right? What do we do when we have excessive pride? We might lie about our shortcomings. Right? So, if we want to be successful in our quest to abandon negative actions and perform good ones, we need to subdue the mind. Because as it says in the Dhammapada, a text, a collected sayings of Buddha, you know, he says that the mind is the forerunner of all. Right? So if we perform actions or speak with a virtuous mind, then happiness will ensue, like a cart follows after an ox. You know? And then on the flip side, the mind is the forerunner of all. If we, act or speak with a non-virtuous thought, then suffering will come, just like a shadow follows the body. Okay. So that's the first reason we have to take care of the mind. Yeah. Good thoughts. From good thoughts come good actions, come good results. But you see, there's a little bit more. It's not just subdue the mind, this is the teaching of Buddha, but yonsu du, yonsu, thoroughly. Yeah. And so what does the thoroughly imply? My senior students? What? Sadhana?
Enlightenment, that is, you must get knowledge, the wisdom and the Bodhicitta aspect. You don't get the knowledge of emptiness that you can really subdue.
Okay, sorry, I was blowing my nose. It was unfair of me. I asked you a question that I don't listen for an answer. But you're behind a pillar, so come here, I'll go there. Okay, so very simply, when we say thoroughly subdue the mind, what would a thorough subduing of the mind entail?
Dispel your ignorance.
Huh?
The knowledge of emptiness to subdue your ignorance.
Oh.
More so your addictions and...
It would be completely, not in terms of moderately or...
It is complete enlightenment.
Not enlightenment, to subdue the mind is talking about. So what does thoroughly mean there?
No, don't just say thoroughly means completely. Don't just give me an adjective of thoroughly.
I said
thoroughly subdue. What would be thoroughly subdue the mind?
Completely control the mind.
You're just giving me synonyms, you know?
At all times. Have a grip
Okay,
on
what I'm asking for more is put it into the path context. So sadhana was maybe on the right track, right? You start talking about emptiness, which I like. But what would it mean? So who on the path has thoroughly subdued the mind? Let's put it that way. This is for the senior students. The new ones, it's okay that you're like, what is this guy talking about? Sadhana, who on the path has thoroughly subdued the mind?
The person who has thoroughly subdued his mind and attained all perfections is only the Buddha.
Yeah.
Only the Buddha.
Okay, the others you could have it.
One of the objectives of achieving nirvana is to completely
You want to say Bodhisattva?
Bodhisattva
the
Deeds.
But the Buddha was the absolute
ground.
perfection.
the third ground onwards.
Thoroughly subdue means abandoning of two aspirations.
Afflictive or
Both. Afflictive.
both? Okay. So, see, sorry, I'm just kind of playing around a little bit on Saturday night. But, where I normally study, this is kind of how we do, right? We're going through a text. There'll be just some phrase, right? To thoroughly subdue the mind, right? And, like some people might say, right? Okay, what does that mean? Okay, completely control. But you see, you're just giving me different words, but what does that actually mean? Completely is like, yeah, you know, then you start to explain this. But we try to put it into context, right? And anyway, there's this whole other in the literature about these various levels of realization. You know, the 5 paths, 10 bhumis, all this kind of stuff. We'll get into that later. But Aban, she had a very, in my opinion, very difficult answer. 3rd ground Dalan, she says, is thorough.
That's what I've understood.
But the 2nd is not thorough. Then, okay, of course, any answer you can give, but then you have to defend it. So in my opinion, it'd be very hard to say why someone on the 2nd ground hasn't thoroughly completed, and what about on the 3rd ground have they completed? The other people were saying, Buddha has thoroughly completed, right? But anyone else who's not a Buddha is not thoroughly subdued, right? Then at least it's a little bit easy, because, you know, Buddha is the, you know what Buddha is? No. So Buddha is the only one who has the complete, you know, so we usually talk about the etymology, right? So Sanskrit, of course, Buddha, right? Then in Tibetan, you remember? Sangye. Sangye, okay? So sam means to, you know, to thoroughly abandon, purify. Gye means to increase, okay? So the Buddha is the one who is thoroughly, or, you know, completely purified, everything that is to be purified. And then to increase all the good qualities to their highest potential. Okay? So that's the one. Okay? So that's just a name we give to the pinnacle of mental development of a living being. Do you understand? So what does that imply? That implies everyone who has a mind, that means all of you, even if you're sleeping, that means you can all attain Sangye, because you have a mind, and whatever faults there are in the mind, okay, they are not intrinsically part of the mind. They can be separated from the mind. You understand? I don't think so. See, okay. They can be separated from the mind, one, because they're not intrinsically part of the mind. So, just like a glass of dirty water, okay? The nature of the water remains unpolluted. It's a little bit hard. But you see, the nature of the water stays pure. There's some temporary pollutants in the water, but that doesn't change the H2O, those molecules, right? It just happens to mix with other garbage, okay? But the H2O nature of the water is not changed. You understand? You know this because through a process of purification, distillation, so forth, you arrive at the, you know, the pure water. You understand? Okay. No. So one, those pollutants, just like the pollutants aren't intrinsically, intrinsic would mean, you know, no way to separate. Like, in worldly speech, right, like the nature of the fire itself is hot. So you can't say, okay, yeah, well, we have some fire, let me take the heat here and leave the fire there. You know, can't do. Understand? Okay? So if the mental pollutants were intrinsically, inherently part of the mind, there would be no way to separate. Okay? They're not that way. And second, see, all those faults of the mind, they rest on mental mistakes. Means incorrect, distorted ways of viewing the world. You know? I'm seeing some heads nod with that. Do you know what I'm talking about? No? Okay, good. Thank you. Very interesting. This is one thing I was thinking about recently, you see. And we're going to talk about this when we get into the actual Bodhisattvacharyāvatāra. But you see, let's look at a mental affliction like anger, right? Okay. When we're angry at an object, right, at a person, we see that person as somehow being intrinsically bad from the side of the person, right? And we've had no faults in the matter, right? They're bad, therefore we want to harm them, okay? So, I'll give you I don't know, we're all adults here, right? But have you ever noticed, you've all been in romantic relationships? Wow, now it's like, okay, alright. I don't know if you've noticed this, where one of your friends might do X, okay? Then your girlfriend, your boyfriend, does that same thing, and it somehow is like the cardinal sin. No? Have you noticed? No.
It's the other way around.
Really? Really?
When someone else does, you say, oh, criticize that person. If your partner does, oh, maybe something.
Oh man. For me it was the entire opposite. Maybe that's why I'm now a celibate monk. Man. Okay. Maybe it just was me. No, I'll give you an example. Okay. Saturday night. This is an example. I don't know if it's probably been many years since I mentioned this, but you know the board game Monopoly? You play that here?
Yeah.
Okay. You know Monopoly?
You have trade. In India you have trade instead of monopoly. It's monopoly too.
Okay, it's a board game, and you know, there's all these properties on the board, you try to buy them, and then if you get 3 of the same property, you can then build houses and hotels and get more rent money, okay? You know, the premise of the game Monopoly?
Yeah.
Hi. Did you come for a Buddhist lecture? We're talking about Monopoly instead.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay. So, the point is you need those 3 properties, or whatever, however many properties of the same color. That's what's called a monopoly. Only then when you get the monopoly can you build the hotels and houses and get more rent money. Okay. So, if someone else has that one you need, you then kind of wheel and deal, right? And if that remaining piece, then it becomes much more valuable to you, right? Right? So they can either get a very high price for it, right? Or maybe not sell it to you at all to block your aspirations. Okay? Right. So I was playing this game many years ago. And for some reason, you know, in high school, very wholesome. Didn't drink, okay? We played Monopoly. But we were playing in teams, okay? But part of the rules were you couldn't be teammates with your boy or girlfriend. You had to be with someone else, okay? So my girlfriend at the time, she was partnered with someone else. And they had Marvin Gardens, this property that I needed for my Monopoly, okay? So, you know, try to negotiate. Completely stonewalled. Completely stonewalled. Okay? Now, by the way, I needed another property too, let's say, I don't know, St. James Place or something, right? So then, this other team, okay, they also wouldn't sell it to me. They tried to stymie my aspirations, okay? Okay. So, that one, okay, yeah, they're just playing a tough game. But my girlfriend, okay, and especially her partner, okay, wow, it's like some anger coming, you know? There's a lot worse than the other people who did the same thing. You guys understand? And now, has that ever happened to you? My gosh. Huh?
Yeah, and ask why is later.
Are you asking about the Monopoly story or something else?
Before one also just did it.
Okay, no. So, do you understand? Okay, you need to look in your own lives. Maybe you're not reflecting enough. I don't know. But for me, you look at that and it's like, it's the same action, right? But depending on who's doing it, there's this like vast differences in the kind of moral weight of it, right?
Like more is concerned with if it is affecting you rather than you. Then the gravity gets magnified.
Well, that's also true. That's also true.
Yes, if it's your spouse, if it is infidelity, that is different. But otherwise, if it is, more...
Yeah, no, okay, so I'm not saying this is the only way, right? There's many ways, but I'm saying all of these afflictions are based on a mental distortion, okay? So I'm just saying this is one way. So you have to examine the other ways. Of course, what you're saying is true. If it's your whatever, right? Like, okay, just to continue with this analogy, right? Then there's like 4 or 5 teams, okay? So then when team A doesn't sell the other property to team C, and it's not me, it's like, okay, good strategy. But they don't sell it to me, it's like, what the heck? I thought we were friends. I thought you loved me. You know?
So you're attached there.
Yes. What do you think? Don't talk about me. You need to look in your own life.
So that's an affliction of being attached and your possessiveness. So we need to overcome that feeling.
Okay.
You magnify yourself.
Okay, I'm trying to get to big picture here. Okay? The big picture, and my statement was, every time there's a mental affliction, it's based on a distorted view of reality. Okay? So then we have to look inside your mind to see, do I have any distorted views of reality? If not, you have to root those out. So I'm using my own experience as an example, right? But it's okay, now you can ask your question.
The previous question or this question?
Whichever, yeah, just do it.
Okay, we will start with the distorted view of reality. One is what is reality, according to you. And the previous one you said, right, the experience you're having that you're coming to Bangalore and you're developing Khor always, most of the time. So if you're looking at it in a different way, it is hinting that your immune system is down. So there's something that you need to work on your mind to improve your immune system so that next time it should not be like whenever you're coming to Bangalore, you will not have cold. In a very subtle quantum physics way of it.
Okay, well first, I was being a little bit funny. So actually, scientifically, right, the past 2 times I've come to Bangalore...
It's not that you're not done harm to anyone.
Well,
you can think the other way, right?
The past 2 times I've come to Bangalore, I've had an allergy attack. But I don't think this is statistically, big enough sample, yeah, scientifically speaking. I'm just kind of joking. But why I said the other way is when you look in the teachings on karma, right, there's the 4 factors of karma, right? And one is, every suffering experience you have necessarily comes from harm you've caused in the past. Necessarily. Right? This is, Shantideva talks about this, and this is actually one of the main things why we practice patience. Shantideva talks about oh, certainly I must have harmed others in the past, so why shouldn't I receive this suffering now?
Can we isolate, like for example, you're having cold. Why are you having the cold? And how to improve, like, so that you do not get your cold back again. It's just an example.
Okay. Of course. Look.
Is it in this life or last life?
It's 17,319 lives ago. Okay. Look. Of course, for anything, there's many causes and conditions. Okay? So if you want to look at it in a scientific way, if you're an allergist, then you say, oh, actually, there's this pollen that, caused this, and where did this tree grow, and did this, and it caused this immune response from you, blah, blah, blah. So. That is true on one level. Okay? But this is not a, immunology class 101. Okay? This is...
pure science. I'm talking in a quantum science.
Okay. I'm talking about Buddhism. And what I'm saying, what Buddha said about karma is you only experience the effects of causes that you yourself have created. And karma is definite. So from negative actions come suffering results. So then when I experience a suffering result, it necessarily is the case that is due to a negative action I've accumulated in the past. Necessarily. Otherwise, the Buddha in that stanza, he would say, do not commit a single negative action except for those quantum physics cases when this, and then you get an analogy. Right? He said, do not commit a single negative action. Why not? Because from those negative actions become suffering results. You understand?
What's the solution for that?
Append the negative actions. That's the first line of the stanza. Do not commit a single negative action. But then, okay, that's the temporary solution. But the ultimate solution, and when we got to the third line, to thoroughly subdue one's own mind. This is the teaching of Buddha. Why? Because from the mind comes the negative actions, come the positive actions. So then, the thoroughly subduing of the mind means that, we become perfect in not accumulating negative actions. Until then, if we are not thoroughly subdued, means completely, then it's like, okay, mosquito buzzing around, okay. And then by brute force, we don't kill, okay? But, maybe we're distracted, and then it lands on us, and it's like, and then we, oh shoot, we subdue for some period by brute force. It means I shouldn't do it. We have an intention to kill that damn mosquito, but we don't, because, we're physically restrained. The mind is not. And so then, in those cases, there's still a possibility, when the intention is there to kill, that we would kill, right? So the real solution is to abandon even the desire to kill from the root, which means to abandon anger, attachment, jealousy, all these things. Okay? That's one. Next.
You said the distorted view.
Yeah.
To viewing the world, the real world.
Yes, so what's reality? Okay. There's two levels of reality. So let me, remember, hold on. This is introduction time, right? So I'm going to give you an introductory type answer. Okay? There's two levels of reality. So really, the thing that should come to your mind is what I just said, right? That every afflictive emotion is rooted on a distorted view of reality. Okay? So that is fine. Okay? Now, there's many levels of distortion of reality. Okay? So it can be kind of distilled into, summarized into two levels of reality: the conventional nature of reality and ultimate nature of reality. Conventional nature of reality is that from negative actions come suffering results. That's the conventional level of reality. And from positive results, result from virtuous actions. Conventional. Ultimate level of reality is how things exist. Things only exist being merely imputed by the mind. Nothing exists inherently, intrinsically, from its own side. Okay? So, you can have a distorted view of reality dwelling on the conventional level, where you might think, okay, performing this animal sacrifice is going to please a certain God, who will then give me good stuff. Then you perform an animal sacrifice. Okay? What is the distorted view of reality there? There's one on the conventional level, thinking that from killing, a good result could come. Right? Okay. You get more deep then you start to talk about the ultimate nature of reality, where the object of your anger is intrinsically, inherently bad from the side of the object. Right? You know the statement, beauty is in the eye of the beholder? Okay. So also ugliness is in the eye of the beholder, right? We say that, but look at the moments when we get angry. Or the flip side, look at the moments when we have excessive lust or desire. Or even, desire for a material object. We see that the beauty is somehow there on the object. There. Where is it? It's in our mind. But it's there. Therefore, oh, I want. I must possess. And if you try to take it away from me, I'm going to hurt you. Or we view that the badness is somehow also there, intrinsically there in the object. Therefore, we don't want that badness in our life anymore. Therefore, it's good to destroy this one. Okay? Okay. So what was I talking about before this?
Ultimate reality.
No, before that.
The verse, thoroughly subdue, what does it mean?
Shanti. That is the gold star answer. So, what does it mean to thoroughly subdue the mind? And I was saying, Alban had a very difficult answer to defend. Right?
No, I was told this.
Huh?
I remember it, yes.
Yeah.
I was told this.
Who told you this?
I was told this by Geshe in Dharamsala. I was listening to his teachings. And it was a question and answer time. And somebody asked, or he asked, when do you get rid of anger? At which stage do you get rid of anger? And after a lot of discussion, yes, I'm not wrong about this.
No.
In my understanding.
Then
I wrote it down.
No, Alban, but see,
I wrote it down.
you guys,
Either here or somewhere else.
you put on your debate hats, right? So, what did the Geshe actually say? When are you done with anger? So now you're saying, someone who's done with anger is necessarily thoroughly subdued, according to this verse of Dhammapada?
Yeah,
is that the same thing?
He subdued his mind thoroughly, yeah, because he's done with anger. From the third path to the eighth path, and then from the 9th and the 10th, you're pretty much done. They're on their way.
Do not commit a single negative action, accumulate a host of virtuous actions. Pretty much get done with subduing your mind. This is the teaching of Buddha.
Phase 1.
then it is completely subduing the mind, thoroughly subduing the mind.
Okay, anyway. The answer I'm looking for, right, would at least be in the format. At least this is an okay answer in the sense that, it's very clear, right? Third, yes. Second, no, right? But the other answers, what does it mean to thoroughly subdue the mind? To completely. What is completely? Yeah, like 100%. Like, all that stuff is very wishy-washy, right? I want this is the line. If you got this one, you're in. If you don't got that, you're out. Give me a black and white answer. So Iman has at least given that to me. But then when we dig deeper, I'm not sure the Geshe really, yeah. Anyway, but I wasn't there, but I'd be surprised if you ask the Geshe directly, hey, this Dhammapada verse, to thoroughly subdue one's own mind, what does that mean? And who has done that and who hasn't done it? I don't think he was talking in that context. If you're talking in the patience chapter, okay, you have the kind of exalted practice of patience from the third ground, right? But I think it's a little bit two different contexts. Anyway,
so you subdue anger at the third ground, but what, the other ones are subdued later on?
Yeah.
Okay. Number one.
Not fun.
I'm not wanting to spoon feed you.
You never do.
Okay?
You never do.
Thank you. So, I want to give you the question for you then to think about in an intelligent way. Okay? It's a clock. When I look at that one, I'm still kind of trained, right, to look up and I only look at the minute hand, right, so I'm like 9, okay, good. I got 50 more minutes, 51 more minutes. But then I look at this one.
That's wrong.
I know. All the suffering comes from distorted views of reality. So this is also distorted view of reality. To believe, it appears one way, but how it actually is in accord to the appearance. This is actually a great Buddhist teaching. There's the appearance and the reality, right? You have some kind of appearance to the mind, you believe it to be 100% real, right? When the enemy says those harsh words to you, how does it appear to the mind? And you believe that to be real. You act like that's the reality. Okay, anyway. So what were we talking about, Shanti? Huh? What it means to thoroughly subdue the mind. Yes. To thoroughly subdue the mind, this is the teaching of Buddha. Okay. So, okay, Buddha, thank you for your advice. I want to thoroughly subdue the mind, right? But how do we do that? That's the question, right? That's the trick, right? We all know we should exercise more, eat less fried foods, eat less sugar and all that, right? But if merely kind of, you know, knowing all that stuff is enough, I wouldn't have gained 2 kilos in the past month. Right? So we need the methods, right? How to subdue the mind. And so this how, the kind of nuts and bolts, the methods, that's what the Buddha Dharma is. Or I should say first, that's what, you know, Dharma in general is the methods by which we transform the mind. Okay? So, when we say thoroughly subdue the mind, it's talking about a transformation from an unsubdued mind, then we have a subdued mind, then we have a thoroughly subdued mind. Okay? So how we move from our current base state, the status quo, to thoroughly subduing the mind is practicing Dharma. Okay? Alright. You understand? So, and since I was saying all of our afflictions are based on mental distortions, actually most of the Dharma methods are going to be kind of driving towards, actually we can say all of the Dharma methods are driving towards removing those distortions of mind. So a distorted view of reality, right, is solved, is kind of cured by a correct view of reality. The correct view of reality is a type of wisdom, right? So even here we see in the, just to preview, if you look at page 121 in this book, you don't have a book, huh? There's one on this table. Or that table. Oh, okay, great. Everyone have one? So please turn to page 121. And we see there's a whole chapter related to wisdom. We'll talk about that later, but all of these practices were taught by the Mighty One for the sake of wisdom. Therefore, those who wish to pacify suffering should generate this wisdom. You understand? Are you with me? Are we on the same page? Okay? Amazing. So actually, in the Tibetan, I think it says Yenlak, right? All these the branches. Okay? But here it just says all of these practices. So there's a little bit of debate about what that means, but so we're in chapter 9, and chapter 10 is just dedicating the merits of having, you know, engaged in this practice. So everything, you know, one way of interpreting this stanza is everything up to this point, you know, we're taught for the sake of generating this wisdom. You know, so all the other practices, they're actually kind of like preliminaries or branches of the main trunk, which is wisdom. Okay? Alright. So, what was I saying? Dharma. Dharma are the methods to transform the mind. And the real kind of transformation is going to come with the correct understanding of reality. Okay? Alright. So that is the general definition of Dharma. Okay? But then again, we have divisions of Dharma. Okay? So here now, getting to this text, we have, you know, oh yes. Remember, I started off by saying, I'm going to talk about life. Okay? First. We have to guide to a Bodhisattva's way of life. So first, you know, we're just talking about life, talking about suffering, talking about happiness. And if you don't want suffering, we need to abandon the causes of suffering. Right? So here then in this stanza, those who wish to pacify suffering should generate this wisdom. So this wisdom is actually, we were talking about 2 levels of reality. It's the wisdom, understanding the ultimate level of reality, which is things don't have any intrinsic nature, intrinsic existence in and of themselves. But rather, I mean, to put it in a simple way, everything is dependent on our own mind. You know? It's like beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but apply that to everything. You know? Everything is like that. It exists in dependence on minds. Okay? Alright. So, not understanding this and believing in a kind of fixed, intrinsic reality out there, that's actually the cause of all of our suffering. So those who wish to pacify suffering should generate the wisdom of ultimate reality. Okay? Alright. So that's life. Okay. That's life. But now, you see, we have this word bodhisattva, right? Maybe maybe the battery is okay. I'm just like sitting on the antenna. Let's see. So, remember I asked at the beginning, do you know what bodhicitta is? And you said no. Okay. So bodhi is enlightenment. Okay? Chitta, mind. Right? So bodhicitta is the mind of enlightenment, which means a mind that aspires for enlightenment. Why? Because then will be of utmost benefit for all sentient beings. So that's an important point. The desire to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. Not just for myself. Okay? Not just for, 60% of sentient beings. All. Whether they've helped us or not, whether they're our friends or not, whether they root for us, a favorite football team or not, whatever. You understand? So this mind, could you pick that up? Yeah. No. That mind that aspires for enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, when we get it in a kind of uncontrived way, means arising naturally, okay? Then we become a bodhisattva. Okay? So you understand bodhicitta? So bodhisattva is one who has that mind aspiring for enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. Okay? But the aspiration alone isn't enough. Right? You've entered the path at that point. But you still have to, traverse the path. It's like this, right? We want to go to Delhi. No, we don't. Where do we want to go? Huh?
Himalayas.
Himalayas. Okay. We want to go to Leh Ladakh. No, where? Where do we want to go? Okay, whatever she said. Anyway, let's not get so caught up. Okay? Let's just say Delhi. Okay? Now we don't want to go to Delhi. Then first we have to wish, I want to go to Delhi. But even that's not enough. Because even if we create that wish here, we're still sitting in Dhamma. So then you actually have to undertake some series of steps, hopefully with a low carbon footprint, to get to Delhi. Right? So same thing. First, we don't even think about enlightenment. Right? We don't even, know that there is enlightenment. Right? But even after you hear about enlightenment, you think it's feasible, you think it's a good thing to do, you have the wish then, but just that, you need to actually undertake a course of action to get there. Okay? So, that is engaging in the Bodhisattva's conduct. Okay? Engaging in the deeds. And what were we saying? The more precise translation of this text is engaging in the deeds of bodhisattvas. Bodhisattvacharyāvatāra. Charya is action, right? Performance. Yeah. Avatara, to engage in. Okay? So this text, this text is, explaining that, describing that, how to engage in the conduct of bodhisattvas. Okay? Who's a bodhisattva? Yeah. What's your name? Huh? Bhavana. Like meditation. Feeling. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Somebody who aspires to be.
Okay. Pretty good. Someone who aspires to be a Buddha. What do we have to add to that to be perfect?
Uncontrived.
For the sake of all human sentient, all sentient beings.
Yeah, okay, good. And? Okay, yeah. But anyway, you're basically there. But yes, to be very technical on the debate courtyard, the best answer is to say, who's a bodhisattva? Someone who has uncontrived bodhicitta, but is not yet a Buddha. Okay? So, the uncontrived is there. Then, if you just say someone who has bodhicitta, then you're including this for the wish of all for the sake of all sentient beings. If you just say someone who wants enlightenment, you could have someone who wants enlightenment, but it's not for all sentient beings, right? And then, why you say someone who is not yet a Buddha, we say a Buddha has bodhicitta, but a Buddha is not a bodhisattva. Okay?
Does the Bodhisattva have
Bodhisattva is not a Buddha, right?
Okay? So you with me?
in the mental condition?
That's another debate that we've had that you've bear witness to. So, anyway, I'm not talking about that right now because that's wrong. Okay? Understand? Alright. So, engaging in the Bodhisattva's conduct. So now, that conduct is described in this text, and as we've said many times before, okay? When we just look at how the text is structured, okay? Chapter 1 talks first about the benefits of the awakening mind. Awakening mind is another way that they translate bodhicitta, okay? So, before you engage in something, you want to know the benefits, right? Right? Yes, you should. If I say,
Maybe I think Thomas, you're selfish.
well, but that's okay for now.
See, you always looking out for benefits.
That's okay. First of all, if you're just looking for benefits, it's not necessarily selfish, because there can be benefits for self and benefits for others, right? But even forgetting that, you see, as we progress through the path, the initial stages of the path, what is our main practice? Abandoning non-virtue and doing virtuous actions. Okay? So, for a very beginner on the path, then the motivation just is, hey, you're going to, experience suffering if you do this harm. So then you stop the harm, right? That's fine. That's at least better than, I don't care. I don't believe in this karmic points kind of mumbo jumbo. I'm going to kill mosquitoes. I'm going to cheat others, right? Okay. So it's like the first step has to go in that direction. Okay. So first is the benefits. Then, what we're working up towards in this first part of the text, there's a point where one actually, this is on page 22, one takes the Bodhisattva's vows. Okay? You look on page 22, you see stanza number 23. You say, just as previous Sadhagatas gave birth to an awakening mind, and just as they successively dwelt in the Bodhisattva practice, likewise for the sake of all that lives, do I give birth to an awakening mind, and likewise shall I too successfully follow the practices. Understand? Okay? So those two stanzas, I've said this before, but this encapsulates the entire text, actually. Just in this. This is what a Bodhisattva does. Right? Sugata means Buddha. So a Bodhisattva says, okay, the Buddhas, that's what I want to get to. That's what I want to achieve. Okay? So, just as what did the Buddhas do? They first developed the mind of Bodhicitta, but they didn't just leave it at that, but they then successively, one by one, in order, followed in the practices to attain that state. So I too, I'm going to do just like them. And first generate the mind of Bodhicitta, then successively do the practices, follow the practices. Okay? Alright. So that is like the kind of, encapsulation, the summary of the whole text. So before that, there's a little bit, right? So before we get to this point, what do we have to do? We have to learn about the benefits of bodhicitta. Then after that, okay, there's kind of unconducive forces or kind of conditions that prevent the development of bodhicitta. Okay? And so you'll see in the chapter 2, disclosure of wrongdoing. That basically is, we look at our own actions, we see those that have been unskillful, and we say, okay, I'm not going to do like that anymore. So before we get to this hugely virtuous mind of bodhicitta, we have to look and assess ourselves honestly and say, okay, actually, forget about being a bodhisattva. I've been, garbage. I got mad at my girlfriend for not selling me Marvin Gardens. What the heck? Okay? So first we analyze our previous behavior, we recognize the negative is negative, and then we say, okay, I'm not going to do like that anymore. Means turning away from non-virtue. Then, and only then, are we ready to go to the virtuous side. Right? Right? So then after we have disclosed our previously done evil, we fully accept the awakening mind. Right? And then we take this verse. Okay? And then look, right at stanza 25, then we have to further increase it. And then, just quickly, we go through the remaining chapters. We then have to be, chapter 4 on page, 25, right? Having firmly seized the awakening mind in this way, conquers children, that means bodhisattvas, must never waver. Always should they exert themselves to never stray from their practice. Okay? So after we have generated the mind of bodhicitta, we have to be very diligent, conscientious in not straying from the practice. Okay? So then it describes how we then always keep our mind in virtue. Right? Then, guarding alertness, we're now on page 34. Right? Those who wish to guard their practice should very attentively guard their minds. For those who do not guard their minds will be unable to guard their practice. Right? Okay? So this is all like kind of general advice on how to guard our minds so we're constantly in virtue. Okay? Then the text goes into the specific practices of the bodhisattvas, the kind of uncommon practices. Okay? And what are those? Those are divided into what we call the 6 perfections. Yeah, or paramitas. Parichin. Okay? And again, another Tibetan lesson for you. Par is, like the other side. Yeah, chin means actually gone. Okay? But what that means, these practices allow us to go to the other side. Who has gone to the other side? The Buddha, don't say third level Bodhisattva. Gone to the other shore, the shore of enlightenment. Okay? So these 6, generosity, ethical patience, enthusiastic perseverance, meditation and wisdom, those are the 6 perfections, those are the main practices that bodhisattvas take. Now, what makes something a perfection of, say, the practice of generosity versus just a practice of generosity? What? Bodhicitta. So, of course, many people practice generosity, but it's only these bodhisattvas who have the intention to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. Therefore, I'm going to give this whatever. Gulab jamun.
So this analysis, recognition and taking a step, does this come under analytical meditation? It can, but it doesn't have to be. I'm just talking in general, right? Okay, you're bringing in a new kind of terminology. So,
Which stanza is this?
she's not on a stanza.
It's regarding His Holiness, he always says about analytical meditation.
Yeah, okay,
Analyze,
okay,
recognize,
okay.
and take a step.
Yeah.
So I'm just connecting that.
Yeah. Okay. So in general, we were talking about meditation at the beginning, and in general, there's many kinds of meditation, but if you broke them down, there would be 2. Okay? What we call placement meditation and what we call analytic meditation. Okay? So, placement meditation is like what we did at the beginning of the session. Okay? What do? We place our mind on one object, the breath. And then we try to keep it there on the breath without letting it wander off to something else. Hence, placement meditation. So by the way, meditation means just familiarization, right? Habituation. Okay? So that's one type. The other type is analytic meditation, where we use analysis. Is that funny, ladies? We use analysis about a certain phenomenon to gain insight into it. Okay? So, that's one. Now, you'll see in other contexts, there's 3 types of wisdom. Wisdom arising from hearing, wisdom arising from contemplation, and wisdom arising from meditation. Okay? So, you have wisdom arising from hearing, means not only just coming to lectures and hearing, but also when we study. Okay? It's like raw input. Okay? Now, we can't just leave it at that. Okay? And this is what I was saying. Don't just take my word. That's why I don't spoon feed you guys and gals. Right? It doesn't matter if I say, oh yeah, thoroughly subduing is third ground. That doesn't do anything for you. You need to understand why. Right? So even this Geshe, or even the Dalai Lama, or even whoever tells you something, even the Buddha says something, that's not enough. It's not enough. So, there's the very, very famous, other famous quotation, just, O you scholars and monks, just as a goldsmith would buy gold only after rubbing it, cutting it, and scorching it, so you too should adopt my words only after thorough investigation and not merely out of respect for me. Amazing. Who talks like that? Right? So, you get the analogy, right? The goldsmith, okay? You see something, it's yellow, it's shiny. Is it gold? Remember, appearance and reality, not always the same. In fact, for us, always different. But that's another story. So you have to analyze, you have to check. Don't just say, okay, how much? I'll buy this gold for you. You know? Because unfortunately, you get cheated. So instead you have to check, analyze. So the goldsmith will cut it, scorch it, whatever, weigh it, burn it, all these things. Right? Then only when they have confidence that this is the real deal, then they will buy. Right? So similarly, okay, the Buddha is not cheating us, but the thing is, sometimes what the Buddha will say can be given in the context of a certain audience for certain purposes, but not to be, taken 100% literal. You understand? This very topic, that actually could be, dive into something huge. Okay? But we don't really have time for it. I'll just say like this. There's another statement by Nagarjuna who gives the analogy of, a grammarian, someone who teaches grammar or language. They'll lead the students, right, first by, teaching the alphabet, then words, then, sentences, and then the whole composition. So the Buddha did that too. So what does Nagarjuna says? To some, he taught, turning away from non-virtue. To some, he taught teachings based on duality. To some, non-duality. Anyway. Okay. We're not going to get into that so much. But because the very most profound teachings on ultimate reality, very hard to understand. In fact, Nagarjuna says, those who mistakenly grasp onto emptiness, it's like holding wrongly grasping onto a snake. If you wrongly grasp a snake, you can get bit, right? So, Sadhana had mentioned the word emptiness, shunyata, right? That, okay, the ultimate reality is shunyata, okay? But then people think, what? Everything is empty. What does that mean? Nothing exists? Nothing exists? Oh, therefore nothing matters. I don't exist. You don't exist. Virtue doesn't exist, right? Then let's just go, forget the Dharma Center on Saturday. It's party time, right? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, for those who might misconceive the meaning of emptiness, meaning nihilism, then the Buddha didn't teach emptiness at all. In fact, taught, remember I said, in short, the ultimate nature of reality is that things don't have inherent existence. The Buddha taught, in certain cases, hey, everything inherently exists, guys and gals, don't worry. Oh, but no, you know what? You should worry a little bit because, hey, you inherently existent Dilshad, if you do inherently existent virtue, you're going to get inherently existent happiness in the future. But if you do inherently existent non-virtue, you're going to experience inherently existent suffering in the future. Right? You understand? Yes? So for those people who couldn't have a level of conventional reality without this notion of inherent existence, the Buddha taught inherent existence. So that they could make sense, so that they could have a reason, maybe it's selfish, but that's fine, to refrain from non-virtue. That's the first step in the game. That's the first, remember, just like the stanza we started out with, those first two, that's what we need first. Right? The Buddha didn't say, thirdly subdue the mind. Don't commit negative action, did it? the first step. That's why also Aryadeva says in the 400 stanzas. At first, one abandons the non-virtue. In the middle, one abandons the view of the self. In the end, one abandons all wrong views. She who knows this is a scholar. Right? So the starting point has to be abandoning non-virtue. Okay, so anyway. So yeah, then after, then Shantideva talks about the 6 perfections. What makes it a perfection is the presence of Bodhicitta. Okay? So what was I saying? Shanti, let's see. What was I saying right before I went into that whole thing about,
You're going through the chapters. You finish guardian
Yeah.
alertness and 6 perfections.
But I was talking about what makes it, perfection,
Yeah.
right? Presence of bodhicitta. Right before that,
Going to the other side, I think.
oh yeah, she was asking about that. But was I done with that already?
Yeah. After you said that, then I asked you how to engage in the Bodhisattva conduct.
Yeah.
And then you went
You
on to
said-
benefits.
You said Parchin, go to the other side.
Disclosure of wrongdoing.
I'm swiping left. Yeah, fast forward that. Yeah, then?
Then you went to chapter 4.
Next chapter. Okay. Next track already. Okay.
You were giving the structure of the text.
Yeah. Wandu, I think you were onto something. Okay. Yes, she asked that question. Then I was talking about 3 types of wisdom. You know? Hearing. Oh, yeah. Why did I say
Analytical.
why did I talk about rubbing the gold?
We have to reflect, not
Analysis. Okay. You guys. Alright, so look. We have these 2 layers, okay? At the one point, she was asking this thing that she's bringing in from a little bit left field, but it's okay. We have the 2 types of meditation, analytic meditation and placement meditation. Then the other thing we have is the listening, wisdom arising from listening, wisdom arising from contemplation, wisdom arising from meditation. So this is what I was saying. Wisdom from listening is good. You listen to the text you read. But that in and of itself isn't good enough. Because, and then I said the rubbing the gold. So, although you might listen, although you might read the text, you then have to analyze. You have to contemplate. Does this, make sense? What is meant? Should it be accepted literally? Does it accord with other things that I'm reading from other texts, other treatises? Okay? And the main analysis is that, so we contemplate. Then when we get to a point of, aha, yes, it's true. There's no internal contradiction, okay? It can be accepted. This is what, or if it can't be accepted literally, okay, it says this in the words, but the actual meaning is this. Then we get to that kind of actual definitive meaning. Then we use meditation. And again, what is meditation? Habituation. We then habituate, familiarize with those conclusions, and let them really sink into the mind. Okay? So then we come to a point where our meditation is combining both the analytic and the placement. We use analytic meditation to analyze. Then when we arrive at the conclusion, we place our mind in that conclusion and we let it seep in. You understand? We let it sink in nice so it becomes stable. You understand? So that was the answer to our question. And why did I bring up the gold? It was because the 3 levels of wisdom, the first one, coming to lectures, is not enough. We need analysis. Because even the Buddha said it, doesn't necessarily mean that it should be taken literally. And then I was describing why that is the case. Because since the foundation, the first step in the Dharma path is to refrain from non-virtue and do virtue, because we ourselves are going to experience the results of our actions, right? Then if we fast forward to this quite difficult to understand thought of the self not being intrinsically existent, yet existing on a conventional level merely based on imputation of the mind. Do your friends talk like this? No way. Right? And don't talk to your friends like this on Monday. What did you learn this weekend? What did you do? Yeah, I learned that the self is merely imputed, by the mind. It has no intrinsic existence in and of itself. Huh? No way. Do you talk to your family like that, Dosha? No. That's wise. Don't talk like that at first. Very difficult. Right? So, because of that, the Buddha gave these teachings and steps. Hello. Okay? So, it's 8 o'clock, it's 8:01. And that was introduction. And how was that? Pretty good. I don't know, my allergy medicine didn't kick in, but the coffee I drank at the beginning of the session did. So, are there any other questions? Are there any other questions? Okay, why did we give this introduction? To set the context. Okay, so now from tomorrow, we're starting at 10 a.m. The older students who rolled in here a little bit late, no excuses tomorrow. Okay, 10 a.m. And we're going to just jump into the text. Okay? Alright, if there's no more questions, then we can go. But before we go, I didn't say this explicitly, but it's implicit. Okay? Remember I was saying what determines whether an action is virtuous or non-virtuous? Motivation, right? So when I said then, when I was talking about bodhicitta as the motivation, we should actually, before we come to these sessions, generate the mind of at least contrive bodhicitta at our houses before we even leave for this place. And we think, I must attain the perfect state of enlightenment so I can be of utmost benefit for all sentient beings. Therefore I need to learn about the various stages of practices so I can put them into practice. Therefore I'm going to go to this lecture. Okay? Even before you order your ola, Now the benefit to that, it is said in the text, every then step you take towards the place where the teachings are given, you collect so much virtue, so much merit. Unbelievable. You understand? Okay. So have that virtuous motivation all the time. Everything you do. Even, you go and you have dinner after this, right? You can still have dinner with Bodhicitta. Why? How? Why do we eat food? Because it's tasty? No way. Why do we need to be, nutrified? So we can continue to benefit others with our practice. So you think, right? Before you sit down, why am I eating this? Okay. I need to sustain my body so I can continue to practice Dharma, so I can achieve enlightenment as quickly as possible for the benefit of all sentient beings. Therefore I need to eat. Therefore I need to sleep. Therefore I need to go to work so I can earn enough money so I can, go on retreat or whatever, right? Hello? Therefore I'm going to eat this food. Therefore I'm going to sleep now. Therefore I'm going to go to my job. Understand? So everything, Bodhicitta can be there. Bodhicitta should be there. Understand? What do you think? So we have that at the beginning. Then when we do the whatever activity, we try to remember. Oh man, this guy is rambling. He doesn't even remember what he said 2 minutes ago. What the heck? Okay. But I'm here for all sentient beings. Therefore, I'm going to endure this hardship. For sentient beings, they're worth it. Okay? Very good. That is actually the practice of patience, by the way. If you look at this one, the end. Developing patience, absurditude of the teaching. Okay? What that means is just this. It's sometimes hard to, gain realization into what's described in the text. Therefore, we need to have this kind of patience. So then at the end of any virtuous activity that we're doing, we then dedicate the merit so that it ripens in the best way possible. Okay? So again, another gold analogy. We have gold, you can then, shape it into earrings or rings or whatever. An elephant. Right? So similarly, when we collect virtuous karma, we can direct how that ripens through our dedication. Okay? So, in general, a dedication prayer is dedicating virtue that we've accumulated towards a certain aim. Okay? Now, what is the aim that we want?
Buddhahood.
For all sentient beings, vast as the vastness of space, to be completely free from all their suffering and abide in the perfect state of enlightenment forever. Right? That's, by the way, in keeping with our motivation of bodhicitta. Right? Okay, so that's one. So think this. Think that due to the merit, or the positive energy that we've created in our time here tonight, may all sentient beings, vast as the vastness of space, quickly be free from all their suffering and abide in the pure state of happiness. Means full enlightenment forever. Okay. That's minimum. Okay. So then we also add to that. Okay? How would that come about? How would all sentient beings become enlightened? They need to practice the teachings. Okay? So then we also dedicate for the flourishing of the Dharma. Right? And not only do they need the Dharma, okay, books are fine, but they need qualified teachers to explain what's contained in these texts. So we also dedicate for the long and healthy lives of the spiritual friends. Means the Kalyana Mitra, the gurus. Yeah? Long, stable lives. And they continue to teach us and guide us along the path. Now, since the main cause of enlightenment is actually this mind of bodhicitta, we also dedicate that even before sentient beings are enlightened, they develop this mind of bodhicitta as soon as possible. Right? So then the last dedication, the famous one, right? Jangchup Samchok Rinpoche, Ma Kepan, Kegyuchi, Kyawa Nyapa, Mepayan, Gone Gone Tawa Sho. Right? Huh? Your Tibetan hasn't improved. Jangchup, Bodhi, okay? Sen, mind, right? So bodhicitta, Chok, supreme. So the supreme mind of bodhicitta. Ma kepa nam. I've explained this before, you guys should know. Kyawa is arise, right? Ma is a negation verb. So the precious Bodhi mind that has not arisen, okay? Jangchu Sen Choe Rinpoche, Ma kepa nam kekyo chik. May that arise. So the bodhicitta that has not arisen, may it arise. So the bodhicitta that has not arisen, that means the bodhicitta in my mental continuum, right? If you don't have bodhicitta, then you're thinking for this. For me and all the others, they don't have bodhicitta yet, may that arise. Okay, kegyu chi. Kyawa nampa nepayang, yeah, nyampa, I should say. Kyawa nyampa nepayang. Okay, so kyawa that has arisen, nyampa is to degenerate. Yeah, mepa. So nyampa is degenerate. Nyampa mepa means to not degenerate. So that which has arisen may not degenerate. Yeah, mepa yang. Yang is like, like however, or it can also be and, right? Gone gondu pel varsho. Okay? Pel is to increase. Yeah, varsho is to, may it increase. Gone gondu is like, ever more increasing. Gone gondu. Ever increasing, forever. Right? So overall, may the precious bodhicitta, or supreme bodhicitta that has not yet arisen, arise and grow. And may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. So Dharma class with some Tibetan sprinkles. I should say American, poorly pronounced American pronunciation, but better than nothing. Right? So, by the way, wow, it's like no foreigners here. So you all, when you learn Tibetan, you have actually a great head start. No, really, because you guys have that all, right? Yes? All of the Indian, whether you're Telugu, Kannada, Malu, whatever, right? Or North Indians, you guys have all that. The Tibetans actually, they added six syllables, right? From their ancient language, they added 6 consonants to get to the 30 found in Sanskrit, so that they could replicate the sounds of the mantras. So now, so many times I'm like, whatever, ka, and they don't understand what I'm talking about. Ka. And they're like, oh, ka, on my phone. So you guys don't have that. Hello, you understand what I'm saying? Do you? If we have more time, I'll just ask her to give a word commentary on Jangchu Samcho Rinpoche Make Manam Gegurchi to see if she's listening. But I won't do that. Have you started to study Tibetan? Are you going to? Don't worry, don't worry. She's an old-time student, so don't think I'm just, giving her a hard time. Well, I'm sorry. I am giving her a hard time, but don't think I'm giving her a hard time for no reason. Right? Okay, let's get out of here. But hey, okay, let me just scan this room. Okay? So I'm going to remember these faces. So, what did we learn? I'm serious. You guys should learn at least some Tibetan, right? Right? So you at least should know this Janchi Sancho Rinpoche. That verse, done. Then when I say, what is the name of this text? In Sanskrit, Bodhisattvacharyāvatāra. In Tibetan? Huh?
Jamchu.
Janchu? That's it? Oh, that seems very short. Huh? Ayo, you see what I mean?
Jamchu Sempa Shudo
Okay, so at least Wangdi, you have to say that my Tibetan pronunciation is better than that. Give you something here. Okay, we gotta get out of here. Janchu Sempe Chupa La Chupa. Okay? Okay.
What is Siddha?
Huh? Okay. Okay, so let's go. We did the dedication. Okay, remember? And then, forget about the Tibetan. Those 4 elements of the dedication, you should know. Okay? And do. Don't just know. Do. Okay? Alright. Thank you very much.